when you were over and sitting in front of Putin, who has absolute control and is a former KGB guy, was there any time that you, because he said several times like, oh, I know who you are. I know you studied history. I mean, he knew you. When you got to the question about the Wall Street Journal reporter, did it ever cross your mind that I'm not in my home country? I'm saying this to a very powerful man who does do what he wants. Were you ever worried?
No, not at all. I wasn't worried for a single second I was there. I wasn't worried going over there, not because I trust the Russian government. I don't, but because my kids are grown and like, I don't really care at this point. I feel protected. I say my prayers. Much more worried about my government, much more worried about my country than I am about Russia because I'm not Russian. You know, I wasn't intimidated at all. I was annoyed a couple of times. I thought it was interesting. I thought he was interesting. He was hostile to me.
He said that you didn't even ask hard questions.
Whatever.
Yeah, I know.
Did he really say that?
Oh, yeah, you didn't hear that? Yeah, he came out and said he was very disappointed you didn't ask any hard questions.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
I mean, what's a hard question to Putin?
Yeah.
I mean, I just wanted to hear his view. And I think one of the things, I mean, it's not about me. That's kind of the point. And that is one of the uglier things about journalism, if you can call it that. It's all the hair hats want to make it about them because that's why they're in television in the first place, because they just like yearn for the adulation of strangers. They're empty inside. I don't care about the adulation of strangers. I just was sincerely interested in who this guy is. And I still don't think I know, but I learned a few things. And one of them is he's very wounded by what he sees as the rejection of the West. And I think it makes him angry, really angry. I think he was angry at me about it. I've got nothing to do with that. But no, I mean, the Soviet Union ended in August of 1991. I was on my honeymoon. I'll never forget it because my family had been involved in the Cold War. So like this was a topic of conversation. And the idea was, well, why can't we work together? If not be friends, at least, you know, be allied in some way that's mutually beneficial. He, in 2000, he said this in the interview and it's true. He asked Bill Clinton if Russia could join NATO. Now, NATO exists as a bulwark against Russia, right? So if Russia wants to join NATO, then there's no reason to have NATO, and we can just call it a big win and go home and build our own countries, do something constructive. And they turned him down. And it's like, no one seems to think that's a big thing. I think it's a very big thing. Why would NATO, which exists to control Russia, turn down Russia's entry into the alliance? Like, it's insane. And then he asked again, George W. Bush, I would like to be in a missile alliance with you against Iran. And Bush is like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. And then Condi Rice, one of the dumbest people ever, is like, no, we can't do that. Why can't we do that? Why wouldn't that be in the interest of both of our countries? And so you sort of come away thinking like there's a lot more going on here than Russia's unprovoked full-scale invasion of Ukraine. That's not actually what happened. Yes, Russia invaded Ukraine. Yes, it's bad. Hundreds of thousands have died. Ukraine's been destroyed. A small number of people have gotten very rich. Boris Johnson hopes to get rich from it, et cetera, et cetera. But there's a context here that does not make American policymakers look good at all. In fact, it's shameful. And the last thing I'll say is, you know, the point is to depose Putin, kill Putin, whatever, get Putin out of office. What happens then? So Russia's the largest country in the world by landmass. It has the world's largest stockpile of nuclear weapons. It's an incredibly diverse country. It's about 20% Muslim, all these different republics, 80 of them, I think. And so what happens to the nuclear arsenal without Putin? Is that good for the world? Like, it sounds like chaos. It sounds like the kind of chaos that we created in Iraq, in Syria, in Libya, Afghanistan. None of that made the world safer. None of it helped American interests. It actually made the world much scarier, more volatile, and allowed China to surpass us economically, which it has. So, like, why would we want to do that to the biggest country in the world? I think that's insane. If you're powerful and wise, you seek to bring stability and order and predictability and peace. That's what a father does in his family. That's what a good CEO does in a company. It's what a good general does.
But an abusive husband or father creates instability intentionally, always keeping people on the edge.
Exactly.
Can I ask you? You were such a. I don't mean this as a bad thing. You're just such an odd individual in the fact that your dad was in government. He was kind of obliquely in intelligence too, wasn't he? Or not?
Well, I applied to the CIA.
Okay, yeah, okay, but you're,
I grew up in a world like that for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
And by the way, I couldn't think less of the CIA now. Just to be completely clear, I'm so grateful they turned.
Yeah, I know. I used to have real respect for our agencies. I think they're enemies of the state, quite honestly, or the people. Let me help me understand how you grew up. I grew up working class. And now I live a different life, but I always feel like I'm still working class, even though I'm not. Okay? You've never really been working class. You've always been that upper class in all of the places that make people into the leaders of tomorrow that don't care about the people. How is it that you have held on to something I don't think you ever really had, and that is that average, everyday citizen that is going out punching a time clock and coming in and just trying to make ends meet? Where did that come from with you?
Well, I mean, I don't have that perspective. I never have. I mean, I've never, no, I'm not from that background at all. I'm from the opposite background for sure, every day of my life. And so I would never pretend to be the voice of the working class. It's
no, I know, but
absolutely the opposite.
Right. I don't think that.
No. My motive comes from not, and I actually now live in a working class area, and I love the people there. But that's not my world. I'm motivated by my loathing of the people in charge. The one thing I know a lot about are the people who populate the ruling class, because I spent my whole life with them. I'm not against ruling classes. Every society has one. Someone's got to be in charge. There's always an elect that runs everything. They're always Brahmins, okay? Always. And there always will be. So I'm not against it. I'm not a populist in that sense. I'm just against incompetent, selfish, nasty, stupid people being in charge. And that's exactly who we have. And I'm so mad about it because I know exactly who they are. And so when you're telling me that Anthony Blinken is a statesman, I'm like, no, he's not. He's like a low IQ political hack who's acting for like personal reasons, have nothing to do with the welfare of the United States in his Ukraine policy. And I know that, and I know them all. And I know I live next to them my whole life, 35 years in DC. So it's like, I'm not fooled by that. Oh, well, I went to Harvard and, then HBS, and I'm at I spoke at Aspen this summer. It's like, I know how mediocre that is because I've been around it my whole life. So I'm just not impressed. I don't want anything from them at all. I'm not rich. I have enough. So it's like I'm just in this weird position where I know exactly who they are. I don't want their stupid little merit badges. I couldn't have more contempt for them. And I'm old enough now that why not just say it?
Right.
And I am. And I just don't care. I'm going to keep saying it.
That's what makes you so dangerous.